we had several challenges in Bangalore. Amongst them, of course, was hardware design, hardware debugging, a lot of technology and such like. But we also had another challenge, and it was called Lost in Translation. We were used to having managers coming in from Delhi, and I still remember a time when the main character from Lal Ka Darbar came down to C. Bangalore, and he was in a meeting with TRS and Kulshekhar and a bunch of other people. And it's interesting because back in the 80s, if you remember, if we Indians got excited, we would speak in English. Except for Mr. Lal. When he got excited, and I mean really excited, he would speak in Hindi. Now if you had a familiarity with TRS and Kulshekhar and a couple of other guys, they really didn't care too much for Hindi at that time. And so I was passing by a meeting where Lal, I think, got really excited about the PERT stuff that you guys just saw, and he got totally into it. And unfortunately switched to Hindi for a solid about 60 seconds. At which point Kulshekhar was a very big guy at that time, a pretty imposing guy, kind of leaned across to TRS and said something in Tamil, in a very polite voice. And the beauty of it was Lal kept saying, "Haan, sahi kaha aapne, aisa hi kaam karo." And I leaned across to Kulshekhar and said, "What exactly did you tell TRS?" "See, what I told him is, how long is this going to go on? I have to go to the bathroom." A bit of translation there. I also remember my first trip to C. Delhi. And in this trip, I shall name 3 characters who will remain unnamed, because unfortunately we are taping this program, so please bear with me. But here's what happened, and as all of you know, I never lie. Alright, so picture this, guys. It's our first trip to C. Delhi. I've got an unnamed Tamil chaste Brahmin, great guy, wearing bell-bottom pants and some chappals. And we step out of the 9th floor at Akbar Hotel, pretty happy with the whole space because Akbar Hotel was pretty lavish compared to what we had at C. Bangalore. And we step out of the elevator, and as soon as we've stepped out, there was an unnamed but pretty receptionist in C. Delhi who starts yelling at this guy. "Oh, kitne gaya tha tu? Aadhe ghante se dhoond raha hu?" She took off in Hindi, Punjabi, yelling at this guy because she mistook him to be a contract laborer. And I kind of realized what's going on. I mean, I'm not very good at Punjabi Hindi, but I kind of got the gist of it. And before I could tell her that maybe you should stop because he's an engineer from C. Bangalore, there was a tall and unnamed lanky HR guy. Right? So he came out to look at what the excitement was all about. And he kind of leaned over to this unnamed pretty receptionist, and they talked for a little bit, and she realized that, oh my God, it's a mistake. This guy's an engineer. And I could see the expression on her face saying, "Oh." And the guy kind of leaned at her, looked at the two of us, looked at my unnamed Tamil friend, and said, "Theek hai, usko Hindi nahi aati." And so here I am thinking, this is fantastic, right? The unnamed but pretty receptionist, she got away with something. She didn't have to apologize. The unnamed lanky HR guy took off because he had no issues to solve. And I turned to talk to my friend and I said, "Do you have a clue what just happened?" But she looks so pretty now. And so it went on, and the story doesn't end there because I actually met this guy about 3 years ago. And I never lied. So I met this guy about 3 years ago and I said, we were reminiscing about C. like we always do after a couple of years. And I said, "Remember the time when you got yelled at?" "Yes, I do." I said, "If you go back in time and realize what happened, would you get upset at this girl?" He said, "No, I should thank her." I said, "Why?" He said, "You see, Godbole, I've been married for many, many years. And every time my wife yells at me, I just remember that time." And so my wife is okay. After some time she stops yelling and I go back to washing my dishes. And we have a very happy married life.